Welcome back to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber.
And I'm Zane Courtney.
And we're here to entertain you this morning with all things related to EVs and alternative energy.
We've got so much fun stuff to talk about today. I'm so excited.
So that picture behind us, for those of you that can see it, TikTok's the only one right now that's seeing green screen, but what that is it's a resort here in Scottsdale. And for those of you that are new to our podcast, we usually pop up a picture that I've taken over the last 40 years or so. An avid photographer, and once Photoshop came out, my whole photography world changed. It was, the capabilities just, exponentially improved. You can even, do wide angle stuff by doing the photo merge type thing, so you don't have to buy lenses. But anyway, what this is about is, it's a colorization where you can selectively allow color to remain in the image. And it's a pretty simple process. What you do is you create an overlay of the picture, so a second picture, and then you gray that out or take the color content out of that second picture, and then you use your erase tool to erase portions in that overlay, and the color begins to pop through. So you kind of have to be precise with what you're deleting, but that's what this is an example of. And you can get pretty striking effects, like if you want a car to pop and you've got an interesting industrial background, you don't want any content color there other than the harsh angles. What you can do there is leave the color in the car and have everything else black and white. Looks pretty cool.
You did a good job on that too, keying that out. Very clean.
Yeah, there's a gecko on the wall there that's pretty brightly colored. Right in between us, actually.
Yeah, I see.
So today, we've got a number of things to cover with you guys. As you know, Tesla released the Semi, and we'll have a bunch of different opinions and segments about that. But the first one that I wanted to cover with you guys is, there was a company called Jowua, who is actually developed a rendering of the Semi in a motorhome. And Tesla's not building it yet, so don't get too excited, but the possibilities are there. Can we pop that picture up, guys?
Yeah, let me get that up one sec.
I just realized something hilarious, that it's not spelled the same, but I'm pronouncing it Jawa, and I love the idea that the Jawa is making something like a sand crawler, a giant sand. Look at that!
Now, the green screen's kind of...
The Star Wars joke writes
up,
itself. But golly, look how cool that is.
Yeah.
It looks like they modeled it to be a 6x6.
And it looks like it's in Arizona because you see a saguaro, right? Well, at least the Sonoran Desert.
That's its natural habitat. I feel like most RV owners are definitely out here in the Southwest.
But what they say is there's something cool about the idea of an all-electric, solar-powered motorhome that would be attractive to many people. At night, you basically, you can charge up in order to do it all over again the next day. So this is a concept. There are already a couple of companies that are making electric motorhomes, by the way, but they're not that impressive apparently. There's a Mercedes-Benz e-Sprinter that could potentially be electric. But what would you do if you wanted something bigger? Well, that's where this Tesla semi-based motorhome comes from. The other company that is making one is Winnebago. They have a full-size electric motorhome, but it only has 125 miles of range. Now remember, this Tesla Semi, fully loaded, has got 500 miles. So we've immediately got some advantages here. And you can travel 500 miles on a full payload. Well, since this thing is going to weigh less, you can probably go more than 500 miles.
Which is precisely what these things are built for. 125 miles of range for an EV RV just doesn't pay out.
Awesome.
Defeats the purpose.
Specs, yeah.
Yeah. I do love, gosh, there's so much to talk about with this Semi too, especially because we talked about it going 500 miles fully loaded, but we still don't know exactly what the split is in terms of weight. We know that they're going to be probably slightly heavier than your average normal diesel Semi, but not that much. And the math checks out on that so that it can still carry comparable, if not more, loads. past these same distances, and anything within 300 miles is going to be completely advantageous for these semis.
Well, this Tesla Semi seems to be making a big splash. The news is full of content
Pete,
about...
we're jumping out there for a second. We got to restart TikTok.
Okay.
Oh,
TikTok.
sorry, TikTok.
All right.
Something going on with it.
Pete, I got a quick question for you too. Those semis, they're not even out yet, but say 8 years from now when they come off of a warranty, if they have the same warranty, you think we'll see those in our shop? Re-equipped to work on semis?
Say yes.
Oh, undoubtedly, yes. You know, again, the beauty of electric vehicles is simplicity. You've got motor, inverter, battery, and that's about it. The rest of it is the old traditional mechanical portions required to make a four-wheel or a four-tire vehicle go down the road. So yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. The only difference will be, you know, larger. Take the battery pack, for example. That's going to be gargantuan compared to the types of things we work on now. And of course, it's going to require hydraulics and rigging systems, and so there will be some changes in the shops.
I have to have a special lift too, all right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You would think that they would just take existing battery packs. I know that it's 100 kilowatt hour, or sorry, not 100, 1,000 kilowatt hour, which I saw another resource that suggested that it's probably somewhere around 914 kilowatts, so somewhere still kind of close to that 1,000 kilowatt hour range, but 914, whatever. Why don't they just take existing packs and just kind of stack them up with each other instead of having to make one new giant pack, unless we're just talking about filling up cells? Because you're right, I mean, can you imagine trying to get that pack out of that thing?
It's probably going to be done in sections, layers, segments. You know, because we won't be the only ones having service issues. By the way, Tesla is converting their service centers to get ready for the Cybertruck. And they need heavier lifts, bigger lifts, and so that's already well underway.
Stainless steel ain't light.
Yep. The Semi, of course, is going to represent a whole host of new challenges for service. I would expect that not all Tesla service centers, at least, will initially be equipped to handle semis.
Now, Pete, do we know, because the guys, when they went to the show and they saw the Cybertruck, they said it was small, kind of like a Toyota or something. Is that just a weight thing, or why would they need the bigger lifts?
Just a weight thing, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we have specs what the Tesla Semi weighs without a payload. But I understand that it is lighter than a traditional diesel Peterbilt or you know, any of these other diesel long-distance trucks.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at a minute ago, was that the idea is you can have 81,000 pounds gross by the National Highway Safety Administration. And so if NHTSA is saying, okay, you get 81K, actually it used to be 80, and then they actually gave the Tesla Semi another 1,000 to accommodate.
It's actually in the thing. It's 2,000. It's 82,000.
Oh, 82. Oh, sorry.
So it's
82.
80,000 for a normal ICE truck. Yep. And then 82 for the electric semis.
Interesting. To probably accommodate for that extra battery weight. So I don't know if they're lighter then.
Well, I think they gave them 82,000 pound payload because the truck itself is lighter than a traditional
lighter,
diesel.
yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Of course,
I would have thought that it was like, because the truck itself is slightly heavier, then they would say, okay, like even though the truck is heavier, let's see if it can pull the same weight. So they would give it the extra 1,000 pounds to the truck and not the load. But maybe you're right.
So now the challenge becomes for these EV manufacturers making these EV semis is to make them even lighter, and that will happen as battery technology improves. So they'll become even more efficient because the payloads allowed on the roads will be higher than they were with the diesel.
I mean, gosh, we've been talking about solid-state battery tech for how long now?
Yeah.
I can't wait. Quick Instagram comment here from Jeswant here. Why don't we just LS swap a Tesla Roadster? Hey, don't get Rich Rebuilds any more ideas. I don't know if he wants to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a challenge.
All right, did you want me to pull up this video, Peter? You got more on the Semi?
I got more on the Semi, yeah. These cells, by the way, for the Semi are produced at Giga Nevada, Tesla Giga Nevada. And they are talking, of course, about a rough, 1,000 kWh battery, which, for some perspective, the largest Tesla sedan has a 100 kWh pack. So it's like 10 of those in this truck. Then they also say electrifying semi-trucks is very important. Today's semis are primarily diesel-powered in the U.S., and they are only about 1% of the vehicles on the road. But they have a very outside pollution impact. They generate about 20% of vehicle emissions and about 36% of particulate emissions. So getting those big beasts off the road would really make a huge impact on our environment and our planet. And of course, the impact on health and air quality.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just listening to Sandy Monroe talk about how, like I said, anything within 300 miles should be electric, because they have something that gas-powered vehicles can never have, and that's brake regen. So you're gaining a lot of that energy back with so much weight behind that. Instead of having it go to the brakes or the transmission, now it can go right back into the battery. So these trucks can easily make these 300-mile, 500-mile trips. And we could see that. You just recently posted the results from the Semi's 500-mile drive. And you could see the battery brake regen progress with that. But so not only do you have brake regen, but then you've also got, maybe for longer journeys, let's say you had to go coast to coast and that was your whole trip, we could probably even see hydrogen take over for that. We'll see. But in the meantime, yeah, just having an EV semi, most people seem to think that, well, if it's anything long distance, it's got to be gas. And I tend to even think that way myself. But looking at the math on this, yeah, it's incredible.
I think there were compelling reasons to go diesel at one point when diesel was so much cheaper than regular gasoline. Of course, that's been inverted at this point. Well, it's a good thing, though. We're getting these fossil fuel burners off the road, and it can't happen quickly enough. Jessica Kirsch says hi. Hi, all from Texas. How are you, Jessica? We love everything that you're doing there at Starbase, and watch your content.
She's over on TikTok, by the way.
Oh, hi!
TikTok. Okay. So, yesterday was a historic date. It's
a very important birthday.
Yeah. Mike Fink, one of our regular viewers, who we've known for years, actually posted this on our Facebook. And he said, yesterday, today in history, the GM EV1 deliveries began the 5th of December in 1996 at selected Saturn dealerships. The manager for the EV1 program, Ken Stewart, described the response of the car's drivers as wonderfully maniacal loyalty. Well, there's a lot of loyalty. We actually had someone on our podcast here locally that was one of the early adopters of the EV1, John Martinson. And he loved the car. And like the rest of them, when GM retrieved those and forced them to give up their lease car, everybody was up in arms. What I found interesting, though, is in 2006, the former GM chairman and CEO, Rick Wagoner, stated that his worst decision during his tenure at GM was axing the EV1 electric car program.
The fact that he said that in 2006
Yeah,
is
that was
also
pretty
very telling. It's 2022,
Right.
and we're still having this conversation.
You know what's funny about this? 2006, so here's Tesla, feverishly working on the Roadster, trying to iron out the bugs, trying to get an EV to market, right? And I'm sure that this comment inspired them to proceed and continue.
They just wrench just a little bit
Yeah.
faster.
All right, looks like we've got a bunch of
So
questions.
fun. Yeah, wow. Thank you guys so much for getting involved. We love to get to hear where you're from, what's on your mind. So from Instagram, from Ladanks2, what's going on with the Cybertruck? Going on a 4-year wait. Yeah, it's been a slow burn on that one.
Well, what we do know, for those of you interested in the Cybertruck, we have it on good faith that the Tesla service centers are beginning to ready themselves for the Cybertrucks by installing different types of lifts. So I don't think they'd be making that commitment, that financial commitment, to retrofit service centers unless something was imminent.
From Nolver53, welcome back, Nolver. We love to get to see you. Do you think that battery tech will evolve to where consumers can swap lithium-ion car batteries that came with the vehicle with a graphene or solid-state battery from another manufacturer, just so that you can understand better? And I guess there's 2 questions here. So let's start with that first one.
Sure.
When are we going to see battery swapping?
Well, you know, in the world of cars, people don't just simply send their car to the crusher in all cases, unless, of course, it's a Ford Taurus or something that you really don't care about. But most people get pretty attached to their early Teslas. You know, the Tesla Model S customers are a pretty passionate bunch. And the car lends itself to being rebuilt and restored. So yes, to answer that question, as battery technology improves, if the manufacturers don't allow a retroactive replacement to newer technology product, aftermarket is going to jump all over that. So it's a foregone conclusion. There will be other types of batteries that are far more efficient, that are lighter, and they will be retroactively able to be put into legacy cars.
Yeah.
Backward compatibility, I think, is what they used to call that in the computer world.
And in the computer world, too, you even see that between computers and smartphones that batteries do change per model. Not every iPhone battery is the same through generations. You can rarely swap batteries between different Pixel phones or things like that. So it's interesting. Maybe it'd be nice to see a good standardization, I think, as we continue to go forward. We're seeing standardization with charging ports, maybe even batteries. So I think that's also going to be a huge improvement, because then everybody can say, okay, now anybody can use whatever battery they want to power whatever vehicle. So I'm with you, Nalvar, with getting more swappable batteries in there. And his second part of his question is, are graphene batteries solid state batteries? Are they the same, or are they different?
They are, and yeah, both terms do get used a lot. Supercapacitors is another term for that. But the graphene technology is an interesting one. It will, it's still in development, and a lot of companies are working on it. What we don't know is what kind of inroads Tesla has made, and of course, they're not the type of company that if they have a successful design to hold back. They will begin to release and produce and convert cars.
If we know anything about Teslas, if they have a consistently good idea, they will never stop using that consistently good idea. They do not end. From Kevin Frederick on YouTube, 500 miles range is unreal. Agreed. It's amazing. Farm equipment logging specifically could use tech like that. I mean, yeah, John Deere's already gone ahead with electrifying a lot of their own fleet, and we'll see. There's someone else had a comment, and we'll get to it in a bit, but about maintenance and what that'll look like. As you said, that it'll likely get simpler, but maybe not easier. But
you know, there's an Instagram question from Ian Danks too. How much smaller will the Cybertruck be than its original design? One of the things that our guys came away with, I think, at the Petersen event where there was a Cybertruck was the fact that the Cybertruck design is pretty much nailed down and mature. And it's no longer a concept vehicle. I think that this was the production-ready version, which of course is important. Otherwise, you have additional delays. And you know, did you guys? Do you remember hearing anything about that?
We didn't hear anything about it. That truck that was in the exhibit being the production model. Our understanding was that was the model that was released shown on stage during the reveal.
That was the actual vehicle, right?
Yeah, that's what our understanding is. You know, they had all the other knickknacks with it. They had the cyber quad, and then the hammer that Franz used to hit the side of it, and the little ball that broke the window when it wasn't supposed to. But yeah, no, it was. When you look at it in a video, when you look at a Cybertruck in a video, it looks larger than life. It looks a lot bigger than it actually does in person. You know, it's what I can equate it to is that of a Tacoma, right? It's about the same size as a Tacoma, lengthwise and height-wise. The newer Tacomas, not the small ones. So.
Right.
Seems a little bit smaller than you'd think, but it's great. Looks
But
nice.
you also said the bed size is also still equatable to an F-150's. It's still a 6.5-foot bed at least.
Yeah, it's massive. It's huge. As far as, you know, the width, the height of it as well. So you can stack stuff back there. As far as the length goes, yeah, it's equatable to an F-150 for sure.
Very cool. Coming out soon. Be patient. Yes.
From President Freeland on Instagram, what are we looking at as far as maintenance? Oh, there we go. There's the question I was just thinking of. So for back to the Tesla Semi, as a truck driver, I'm sure he's going to have to learn whole new pre-trip driving for these EV semis. So yeah, I don't know what the learning curve is going to be like for truckers.
The feedback that I've gotten as people that have driven it is infinitely simpler. First of all, you're not jamming gears constantly. You don't have a clutch to worry about. You know, your hands are basically free. And it is moving us into a less complicated method of driving.
Hopefully by the end of the 2020s, they won't be driving.
Well, good point.
People
yes.
won't be driving them anymore.
For now, we're still piloting these gigantic masses of metal.
I'll tell you what, though, there's a somewhat of a strange conflict of interest that might be fun to talk about. Because my brother's a trucker. I got to talk to him during Thanksgiving about it. And the reality is that a lot of these truckers really do like the kinetic feeling of getting to drive a truck. They don't like a whole lot of the autopilot stuff. Mm-hmm. So we might see sort of a John Henry situation where we've got the self-driving Teslas and we've got the guys who are doing everything themselves. Personally, I think that there's always room for both.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really fun to get excited about. Where this self-driving can go. I'm more in this camp where it's like, hey, if you don't have to.
Well, here's a wonderful aftermarket idea. For the diehards, what we could do is aftermarket could create a little fake box with a gear shifter.
That'd be kind of rad.
Makes noise, all of that. The
Why make it fake?
Noise.
Wait, what? What if it was a controller? Mm-hmm. That could go directly into the computer to say, hey, when I make this motion, hey,
that's not a bad
everybody
idea.
Wins. Getting the same feeling. Oh, that'd be really cool.
We were talking about this earlier. This notion of having certain types of noises emanate from a transportation device is something that our generation, of course, is quite used to and expects. And future generations will find it very odd that any of this stuff makes any noise whatsoever. It's unnecessary,
And loud ones at that, yeah.
Well, hold on. Didn't they pass that law? Do you guys remember where you have to have sound in there because it was dangerous or something?
Well, yes. So you'll always still have some kind of artificial sound. We were just talking about that too with Teslas. How if you're gonna put a sound in there, make it whatever you want. So
it could be a pleasing voice too. Coming through. Please get out of the way.
Excuse me. I would love if every car. I want to do this to my own. I want to have 3 horns. I want to have a polite little one.
Right.
You got your regular one. And then you got an extra 12 volt to go to a train horn.
Oh, the annoying one, yeah.
Just an ear-shatteringly loud, like, please move.
Jessica, looks like she's got her tri-motor Cybertruck on order.
All right.
Yay, it's coming.
It's coming. She also asked, how do you think bringing lithium refining to the U.S. by Tesla will help expedite the production of the 4680? It's a great question.
Yeah, I'm not sure the two are related.
I think it is in the sense that by keeping it closer to home, we're going to be able to see more production coming out of California. We're going to see it in Nevada. I mean, look, if the lithium refining is already going to be in Nevada, and you said that it was their battery facility is also being built.
Right. Well, of course, Redwood is there too, so you have
Redwood's
that recycling loop that's going on as well.
Nevada could very well be this crazy new hub for energy because they have the whole ecosystem already in tap there.
I didn't bring this article to this podcast, but there's an interesting, and you guys can Google this, the land that all of these companies are buying in Nevada is out in the boonies. And you wonder, why are these companies investing in something that has virtually no human infrastructure? It turns out that the owner of this land was a brothel owner, or is a brothel owner, and he must be giving them crazy incentives. I don't know what it is. I don't think anything's been published, but that's an interesting story too. There are. Apple, for example, I think about 1,200 acres. It was either Google or Apple. Just an enormous amount of land out there. And but anyway, we'll probably report on that in future podcasts as we get more information.
From Vince on YouTube, part of standardization is the consumer interest, but not the manufacturer's interest. Yeah, it's a bit of a two-way road on that because I agree that there's the consumer aspect. What does the consumer like? What do they know?
And those are sometimes at odds for different incentives, financial. But it looks like we've got Dorothy Dillard Good morning, gentlemen.
Yeah,
from
we
LinkedIn.
got some comments from Facebook and from LinkedIn. We got more engagement on our platforms, so welcome everybody.
Well, hi everybody,
Welcome,
good to
yes,
see you. Gosh, yeah, no, this is so much fun. I love it's great to really get that synthesis with everybody. I'm glad we're all on the same page. Tesla Charged on YouTube. Have you guys seen the Petersen Automotive Tesla exhibit? Yes, they did.
We had our social media team there. 2 guys went there 2 weeks ago during the grand opening, and we actually got in early, 1 day early, to do some videos. For those of you interested in what we found, we've got a video out on our YouTube and a picture of the Petersen Auto Museum in the thumbnail. You can't miss it. It's a beautiful red striped building. But if you're interested, take a look at that. It's on our YouTube.
And we've got an episode of the podcast to get to catch up with you guys after that. That was from last week, or 2 weeks ago, right? That was 2 weeks ago? Yeah, so be sure to check out that episode that came out, I believe, that Tuesday before Thanksgiving. That was when we were getting to talk all about that.
What was most interesting for us is at this Petersen event, they had 2 T0s. Remember, there were only 3 built. We have one of them here. We were actually, through this event, able to connect with the other 2 owners, which prior to that time had been unavailable to us. And we'll be doing a lot more promotion on what the T0 is. We've got more videos planned. But the bottom line is the T0 electric sports car was really the genesis of the EV revolution, because without it, Tesla would not have been created. It was the car that convinced Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, and later on Elon Musk, that there was a market for electric sports cars, which then morphed into the Tesla Roadster. So it is a very important car in the EV history. We've got Facebook, Raja Petra Marudin.
Always good to see you, Raj.
Yes.
Hello, Gruber Motors. Yeah, complimenting our Facebook Live.
He says it
Well
looks
done,
much
guys.
better. Yeah.
Killing the
Excellent.
game. Someone asked about the sunglasses. We'll tell you one day. We'll tell you one day.
It's coming.
It's
coming
coming.
soon, yes. That one comment, you guys just shifted past it. If you can go up just a little bit. I think that the name that I see there, no, the other direction, guys.
Oh, is it down there?
There
From
it is.
just-
Dorothy Dillard. She was an employee here, I think like 10 years ago or so, and she's from LinkedIn. She's saying, good morning, gentlemen. If that's you, Dot, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well.
Jessica on TikTok back saying Lexus is supposedly making an electric stick shift. There we go.
Yeah. That will satisfy those of us in this generation that are still expecting certain types of engagement with the transportation vehicles.
I'm so curious as to how that would feel, because so much of stick shift is being able to feel the rev and then shifting on the certain RPM. But with an electric motor and having it constant, it doesn't rev, it just goes up.
Well, like you said, they'll probably tie that into the placebo and give you the illusion that you're actually controlling something.
That's true. There we go. I'm here for it. So, Jessica, thank you so much for pointing that out. CS Tech on TikTok told us what's the best air suspension for the Model S. The factory models only last for
20,000 kilometers. I didn't know that they had such a short lifespan.
Yeah, that's
You know,
interesting.
the work that we do on the suspension systems, indicates that there isn't really any shoddy workmanship or shoddy materials. It just seems like that, when you have a big rubber bladder that is supporting the car, especially a heavy car like that, it's probably not the most elegant design to raise and lower a car. But no, I can't speak to what kind of lifespan we're seeing on the suspension components in the cars that we work on. They typically function well and last a long time. All right, so dysfunction from TikTok. And he says, now this is optional, but he says, dude, get rid of the shades. Unprofessional.
We're professionals? Well, you're a professional. I'm here to be here.
We
have a good time.
Yeah, we will eventually explain why these sunglasses are part of our routine. But in the meantime, we love all of the controversy that it generates. And
No such thing as bad publicity, not with these shades.
P.T. Barnum said that, yeah.
Yes.
And
whether or not he was right, But for us, it works out great because these are fun.
These sound like people that never watched any Blues Brothers videos.
Yeah, right. CS Tech, thanks. Absolutely, CS Tech.
All right, so I got a story for you here. Another bulletin here. Lyft, the company that delivers your food.
That's the one.
It turns out that they are the largest e-bike provider.
Huh.
Let me see if I can find this here.
Pete,
yes.
real quick, I wanted to show that video of the semi before we move on.
All right, let's do that. Yeah, let's go semi.
So people can get an idea of just how powerful this thing is.
And this is probably the same type of video that Tesla did when they announced their Cybertruck, and they pitted it against the Ford F-150 and embarrassed the heck out of Ford.
Well, opposite of embarrassment, looks like we're getting some love for our shades.
So here's
thank you, Jessica. Thank you, user
You guys-
7560348675.
All right, you guys are watching the video now. You're
hello.
seeing it pass.
Oh, there we go.
It'll play it again here in just a second.
Oh, that looks like I-70.
So explain this to us, Jesse. What's going on
It is
here?
I-70.
Right there, you see that? That is the
Donner Pass,
Tesla
yeah.
Semi, fully loaded with 82,000 pounds of concrete barriers, passing another semi, going up a 6% grade without losing speed at all.
That's
and we're
insane.
assuming that both of them have their accelerators jammed to the floor.
Yeah, right.
And the Tesla's pulling away. That's about how that Cybertruck event went with the Ford pickup truck. Very cool. And you expect nothing less. I mean, even these gigantic diesel engines, they're very torquey, low RPM devices. These electric motors will just run circles around anything like that for given weight and size.
It's also incredible that, well, they're probably not going to be using the same motors that we already see in Model 3s or S's or whatever. We're going to see brand new ones, but it is really cool that even a dual motor setup with these big motors, I mean, they can do that. Unbelievable.
Getting back to the sunglasses thing, though, for just a moment. For those
We
of
have
you
a
that are
Tesla
still
charge.
talking about it. We've got, some feedback now that people are liking it. I don't know if you guys are from a generation where they used to have this late night movie that you could go to, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Ooh. And people actually used to dress up like those characters. They used to throw the toast during different scenes. And what I'm going to suggest to you is pull out your sunglasses when you watch our podcast. Maybe you'll begin to see what we're beginning to see with these sunglasses.
Listen with us with your eyes protected.
And for those of you that don't have any cool sunglasses like we do, we are going to get some swag on our website.
We're working on that?
You'll be able to buy some and join us with the sunglass
Join the
podcast.
sunglasses crew. Very cool.
Like Tesla Charge says, blinded by the lights and looking cool in the process. You got it, Tesla Charge.
There's a comment just before that about batteries. So from My Melt on YouTube, our Model 3 had two 12-volt battery replacements. Each lasted about 2 years.
Yeah.
Second battery did give a warning, thought that you carry upgraded 12 volts, but they don't say it on the website. Can you buy upgraded 12 volts?
Yes, we do have the upgraded, and I'm sorry they're not on the website. They should be, guys. We have our webmaster here. We'll check that immediately after the podcast. But on our website, under the Tesla Model S section, S and X, you can buy the 12-volt batteries there. Just some quick history. Initially, Tesla went to C&D, who makes batteries for the critical power world and deep discharge batteries for golf carts and other applications. So a pretty well-known battery vendor. What people didn't anticipate is that the 12-volt battery systems in these electric vehicles are going to work overtime. For example, in your ICE vehicle, your battery does absolutely nothing until you get in the car and you crank it over, and then it has to deliver hundreds of amps of current to turn over that starter motor. Then, once the engine is running, the alternator takes over, provides a charge back to the battery, and the battery can go back to sleep, and the alternator is basically running all of your 12-volt devices in the car. With an electric vehicle, especially the Teslas, you have an enormous amount of devices that are constantly drawing on 12 volts. Security systems, door locks, the MCU, the computer. So it's constantly working and constantly getting charged from the 400-volt battery, from the main propulsion battery. So this battery really is working overtime. Eventually, what they ended up doing was going with a modified C&D battery, which had some carbon technology in it. And that's exactly what we replicated with our 12-volt battery. By the way, we are Gruber Power Services is in the battery business. We have our own line of batteries that go into critical power applications, and we simply use that same vendor to build a custom battery for the Teslas. And that's what we sell on our website.
Okay, Pete, I'm pulling that up right now so they could see it. It's on our website. I think we do have it marked as local pickup only, though. I think we were having some issues shipping batteries, but
Okay.
we do have them on the site.
Okay, good. That's good news. We'll have to solve that shipping problem because not all our customers are local. So the batteries will work about 2 years. You're not going to get an extended period of time because of the amount of work that this battery does. So 2 years is not an unreasonable lifespan for these Tesla batteries. The other question we often get is, I've got a 12-volt alert. How much time do I have before the car won't transport me anymore? You literally have 2, 3 to 4 weeks before it actually becomes a concern and the car begins to complain and may not take you somewhere. So you have time when you first get that alert.
That's good to know. About a month.
Yeah.
Very cool. From, there's a couple of great things. First of all, from Jessica, Casey Neistat's one of her favorite YouTubers, and he wears sunglasses in every vlog. So there we go. Yeah, we have big love for Casey Neistat. That guy's got it figured out. He's a great YouTuber.
We're going to have to get Casey to come to our podcast.
Yeah, just no new shades needed. And she also wants to know what we think of Canoo. We were just talking about Canoo.
We were.
Do you want to chime in on that first?
Well, I'll just say that we are fans of Canoo in this household. We support Canoo.
In the last podcast, Jessica, we showed the new Canoo pickup truck. And it literally looks like they took their van and cut the back section out of it because it looks like a combination of van and pickup truck. But, all rules can be broken now. We're going into a completely different mode of transportation. The preconceived notions of what a car, truck, any of this should look like can be broken.
Yep.
And Franz von Holzhausen at Tesla has been proving that. Look at the Cybertruck. I mean, that floored us all.
Yeah.
So anyway, getting back to Lyft for just a moment, we didn't quite finish that. It turns out that Lyft doesn't only deliver your food, they are the largest electric bike share operator in North America. You know those little scooters that you can get at various street corners? They actually have bikes like this as well. New York City is full of these. And but the important part about this the story is they have partnered with Redwood Materials, a battery recycling company founded by a former Tesla executive. It's JB Strobel. And to ensure that its fleet of e-bikes and scooters have a second life. So it looks like Redwood and JB's company is getting batteries from a variety of different places these days.
Well, and it's very cool that they are. It means they're not only going to get a lot of business, but they're also going to get a lot of opportunity to figure out more ways to get to extract that lithium and get that recirculating. So that's very cool.
And it's very planet healthy because some of these companies like Redwood, they have a zero waste stream. So everything gets recycled, gets reused over and over again. We have a interesting story here about Volkswagen. The Volkswagen Group and its battery subsidiary, PowerCo, have announced their intention to start scouting locations for the automaker's first battery cell gigafactory outside of Europe. And guess where they're looking, taking a hard look? In North America and Canada. So that would be interesting. Again, the supply chain is getting smaller, at least in North America, and things will be closer and much more accessible. Good thing for the conversion to alternative energy transportation.
Yeah, it's good for us. But North America has been the pinpoint for a lot of innovation in this regard. We've got North American charging standard becoming a thing. We've got more, more battery production happening between Canada and the U.S. We've got the Tesla Semi getting produced here. It's exciting. It's exciting. It's exciting to be in this part of town.
And a lot of it is new construction. You know, it used to be that in Detroit, Motor City, you kind of had to locate your ICE activity there because that's where the resources were, that's where the infrastructure, that's where the vendors were. Now that we've got a completely new, clean slate, you know, you're seeing things pop up in the strangest places, like this place up in Nevada that we were talking about.
Right.
Thousands of acres of development.
And it's always the places you least expect because no one ever thinks about it.
Yeah.
There's even a town called Cobalt in, I believe it's Manitoba in Canada. If you all want to correct me on that, please do. But I'm pretty sure I know it's up in Canada. I can't remember if it was in Manitoba or a different province there. But the whole town's called Cobalt. They've got so much of the stuff. It's like, yeah, you would have thought that we had hopped on this a little sooner, but it's just kind of funny the way that this all rolls. So yeah, man, it's exciting.
So one of the questions we get asked a lot is, how does a Tesla electric car function in cold weather? Are they really usable in cold weather?
This is also a good question for those semis, because semis go through a lot of different places.
So what I have here is a actual report from a Tesla owner in northern Canada, where the temperatures get down to minus 40 degrees quite regularly. And here's what he has to say. He said the first thing about living in this kind of climate with an EV is there's no risk of not starting in cold weather. He makes a good point there. I used to live in Rochester, New York. I had a little Opel GT. It was a little four-banger, and I swear to God, when it got below zero, this thing just would not start. So every morning I'd have to go out with a can of ether, spray that into the carburetor, and hope that it didn't explode and singe the hairs off the back of my hand. So yes, internal combustion engine cars do not like extremely cold weather. What happens is the viscosity of the fluids, like the oils, get really thick. It's almost like honey, like syrup.
Yes.
And it makes a real hard cranking process. With an EV, minus 40, no problem. It just starts right up because, again, there are no thick oils to impede combustion. Another point that he makes here. The pre-warming of the car works extremely well. The heater starts almost immediately blowing warm air, and the car is comfortable in 5 minutes to toasty in 10 minutes. Now, you know, with an ICE engine, your heater's not electric. You've got to wait until the glycol or the coolant in the engine reaches a certain temperature before you see any sort of warming. Again, getting back to my little four-banger Opel GT, that thing never got warm, even if I put a 190-degree thermostat in there. And so I would drive to work cold most days.
Oof.
With EVs, you're going to be toasty, like he says, in 5 or 10 minutes. And if you've got a cell phone and you have the app, you can preheat your car in your garage if you want.
And that's big, because even with ICE cars now, and I'll even steelman it a little bit, let's say you've got modern ICE engines. Let's say you've got that Mercedes-Benz AMG engine, or is it Mercedes-Benz? Whichever one it is that you could put, that passes the penny test, where they can balance a penny on top of the engine's running. Even if you've got that, let's say, you're still going to have to deal with these minus 40-degree temperature problems where all that liquid is going to behave exactly as like what you just said.
Sure. So here's another thing about this preheating in your garage. You do that with an ICE engine and you have created a lethal environment with carbon monoxide in that garage. With this EV, it'll sit there and just simply pre-warm itself with no noxious fumes, perfectly safe and healthy, leave the door shut, you know? So there's another advantage. And they say you can even set up Google Home and Alexa to preheat your car on command if you want. So while you're eating breakfast, you say, Alexa, heat up my P100D outside in the garage. And oh, by the way, what's the temperature outside? It's minus 40.
The temperature is minus 41. I can get the car warmed up. It is hilarious that that's a thing.
So then they talk about, or he talks about, traction control systems on an EV work better than an ICE engine, having more instant control of wheel speed and torque, and the added weight and perfect weight distribution. Remember, the majority of weight is not in the front clip where that gigantic engine block is. It is an entire floorboard of 7,104 lithium-ion cells weighing about 1,200 pounds, so you have an even weight distribution, which helps you get through the icy and snowy roads.
The guys at Out of Spec Reviews, they live up in northern Colorado, and they've been doing a lot of ice road testing with Model 3s, Model S's, and you name it. And even if you don't necessarily slap on a set of snow tires, you're going to be more than happy for everything that just said. So I think that's hilarious. And I've even thought that as a Colorado native is, you know, with an EV, and I always think about like, well, if you don't have a gas engine that's generating all that heat and the battery's not necessarily getting too hot either, am I going to freeze out in my car? And that never seems to be the case. Most of them tend to be very, very happy.
So he goes on. He says, you can, and there's a picture of him now standing by a gas pump. He's all bundled up. You know, he's got the muffler on, he's got gloves on, and he's standing there in minus 40-degree temperatures with a wind chill that's probably taking that down well beyond minus 40, while he's waiting for his, you know, tank to fill up. He said with the EV, you plug it in at home when you get home, and you forget about it. In the morning, you got a full tank of gas.
Yeah.
No more trips to the gas station, no more standing out there with the wind ripping through you.
And someone also mentioned that, yeah, if you got to use a public charger and you got to be there for longer than, say, 20 minutes even, okay, you can wait in the car. It's not so bad. It's well insulated. Or you can go somewhere nearby if you're able to and be cozy there. You got options. You got tons of good options.
Now, he is objective about this, and he says that there is some downsides. And now we're going to go into the bad of owning an EV in an extraordinary
Let's get to the
cold
obvious one
temperature.
first.
Yeah. Range is impacted, he says.
Yep.
Less in an EV with a heat pump. Expect a 30 to 50% range reduction on short hauls, where it really doesn't matter, he says, or 10 to 15% on longer full battery hauls.
That's a huge difference, actually.
It is.
10 to 15, I mean...
You're heating the battery and you're heating the cabin, and that's going to require some energy. If you don't preheat the battery, he says the battery power is reduced and braking regen is limited. So you can get around that by preheating the battery. And then he says, finally, he says, some say the door handles freeze in winter. He said he hasn't had this issue except after a car wash. So he doesn't feel that it's much different than other models, but it does get a lot of media attention.
I think especially with Teslas, how you have the flat to the car design, that tends to get that same criticism.
The presenting door handles will have a
Correct.
difficult time going through a sheet of ice that has been allowed to build up on the skin of the door, yeah. Cool, all right.
For Core Glass on YouTube, whatever happened to the pre-production Tesla Model S and Roadsters? Whatever happened to the pre-production models on those?
Some of those were at Petersen.
Yeah, we had a chance to see the Model S pre-production. That vehicle, it looks completely different than the Model S that we know. So they've got at least one of those at the museum. There was also the Lotus Mule as well, which wasn't necessarily pre-production, it was more of a proof of concept. But that is also at the Petersen Auto Museum. As for the rest, I'm not aware of where those may be, if there are others.
So that pre-production Roadster, that was a 2005 Lotus Elise that they put the AC Propulsion Systems drivetrain into, PEM and motor,
Correct.
in anticipation of a proof of concept for the Roadster concept.
Exactly.
Okay. You know, some of these cars, these early pre-production cars, end up getting crushed, sadly enough, or they're donated to schools, museums, you know, training class type operations, or sometimes they end up in an employee's garage. There's one we're talking to now that has a T0 in the garage, or at least parts of one.
Very cool.
So,
And Pete,
Yes.
real quick, Tony from LinkedIn is saying, big challenge in cold weather is keeping the cabin warm. A lot of power is consumed in the heaters. Range is significantly reduced. He said that a while ago before you went on your spiel. Basically the same thing. So I just wanted to point out we have more people over there on LinkedIn as well today.
Hey,
Okay.
great to see you, LinkedIn.
And also, guys, we're at 54 minutes.
okay.
We got plenty. We got 5 whole minutes. But I feel like there's also a strong connection between having to do exactly both. It's most of the energy that's taken from your range is used for that cabin heating. So,
Yeah.
and like they said, that doesn't tend to happen much if you have a model with a heating pump. The 2023 higher end Ioniq 5 all-wheel drive edition, that's going to have a heat pump. So that's cool. Lower end models probably won't. And yeah, fair enough.
Facebook question. We see this one often too. It's from Gary Mark. He says he has a 2014 Model S 85 kW, with 422 kilometers range at delivery. Now he's at 385 kilometers max. He says that's a 9%, he's done the math for us, thank you, 9% degradation over 8 years. Does degradation happen from individual cells or overall battery packs? It does not happen from individual cells, and I'll tell you why. When individual cells go south, they become resistive, and it is a process that accelerates. And what you'll see is the range begins to decline rapidly. You lose some miles every week or dozens every month. What you're seeing is an overall degradation in all of the cells, which is a healthy process of degradation. It's not going to shut you down. The question is, how do we refurbish batteries? Well, for the cells that have aged and are no longer at full capacity, there isn't anything you can do. And anybody that tells you different is selling you snake oil. And I'm sure there will be those types of companies as well. You know, put this little fluid into your glycol system, cooling system, and the battery will recover. How do we refurbish batteries? We repair battery packs, and the reason that's important is when you get a resistive cell, eventually that pack will no longer charge at all. And one cell out of 7,104 can cause that symptom. So our challenge is to find that needle in a haystack, find that one cell, and once we do, the pack goes right back to baseline. So if you were getting 385 kilometers charge, once we get that cell cut out of circuit, you're going to go right back to 385, and the car never realizes that 1 out of 7,000 cells went MIA.
Fantastic. Core Glass responded to the North American Charging Standard. You mean CCS, which was developed by Volkswagen? No, I do not. And if you haven't seen it yet, that it's probable actually, that the Tesla patented charger is going to be the new North American Charging Standard, since they just released their patents on those models for free. So it's more than likely, because they already have a more streamlined design that can output the same energy as CCS, all in one smaller unit. It's more likely that that's going to become the new charging standard in North America. Aptera also just really announced that they're going to be using that new North American charging standard, the Tesla connector, for their other future models as they're in development. So we might be able to see a little bit of both on the Aptera. Currently, yes, we're going to be using J1772 for a hot minute, since that does seem to be pretty popular right now for most production cars. But if most automakers move on to that Tesla's charger, then yeah, we're going to see that as the new CCS. So you're right that CCS was developed by Volkswagen, but I think we're going to be moving to Tesla here in the next few years.
So the earlier question was, why do end users and manufacturers, why are they at odds about standardization? There's a good reason. The users would love to see standardization, because now you have the ability to have a standard charging method no matter where you go. For manufacturers, it's very difficult because of the hefty investment that they've made in certain types of charging stations. We're talking about molds, dies, tooling, machinery, production equipment, and of course a bunch of inventory that they're sitting on. So that's one of the reasons that those two concepts are at odds. Oh, Dublin Dave from YouTube. Opel GT used a Solex carb. I upgraded mine to Weber. I did not realize that I could have changed my carb back then. I'm not sure it would have improved much. You know, there were times I used to park it outside. It was when I first got married, didn't have a house, we were renting, and there was no garage for my Opel GT. And it was up on a hill in Canandaigua, New York. And I swear to God, when it got really cold and the snow was coming, there was a constant wind. And there were often times when I would lift the front hood on that Opel GT, and it was full of snow, packed full of snow. So the first thing I had to do was try to get the snow out of there with brushes.
Oh,
and,
gosh.
And those were usually
to melt the
days,
ice off the carburetor.
Yeah. Those are usually the days I'd call up to Rochester and say, I can't make it in today. I don't have any transportation. And of course, that doesn't work well.
You know, there's a really simple solution.
What?
People don't live in these areas.
Well, I didn't figure that out until 1975. I came here in fall of 1975 in November. It was already getting cold, dreary, gray, overcast, no sun in New York State. I come out here, every day I woke up, I saw blue skies and sunshine, and I thought I'd gone to heaven, you know?
Oh yeah, no, it's hilariously.
And it was warm, I could go out in a t-shirt. You know, for the locals here, you know, the 65-degree weather, it wasn't t-shirt weather for them.
Right.
But for me, it was summertime.
Oh,
know?
yeah. No, that doesn't kick in for a few years until you've lived here, when your blood thins out.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've got a YouTube comment from Sumding Wang. I literally drifted into a Tesla charging station with my shutdown warnings. Did I mess up the battery? Simple answer is no. The later model Teslas are extraordinarily resilient to not getting charged. The Tesla Roadster is on the opposite end of the scale. If you don't charge that puppy and you miss a couple of months, it goes into a coma and the car has to come to us to be restored, to have that battery continue to operate. But the rest of the Teslas are immune from such problems. So you can run it down to zero, you can get it towed somewhere, and it will continue to charge. There are safety mechanisms built into that pack that prevent it from what's called bricking or dying completely.
I just saw an article about how an F-150 Lightning just got bricked at an Electrify America charger.
Really?
So that's probably another reason why we're not adopting Volkswagen as the CCS.
Right. TikTok says user with about 12 different numbers.
He complimented us on our shades earlier. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for that, by the way.
But he says, such an interesting conversation. How is it there are only 5 people on TikTok? We usually have over 1,000. We must have had some technical issues or something.
Well, either way, it's great to have you. And
Even the 5 people, TikTok, yes, we appreciate you.
So to get to your question, so, and this is more for you, but what do you think the odds are that he'll get his Cybertruck by the end of 2023, ordered a week after the event? So that was, what, 4 years ago?
Well, I can't
longer?
speak with certainty, but I would say that if the manufacturer is beginning to invest in service center upgrades, there's probably something imminent because they would avoid that expense until the last minute.
Yeah, end of 2023? Yeah,
Or
I
even
can see it.
mid, yeah. It's,
Yeah. You
All
imagine next Christmas.
All right, guys, we are at an hour and 2 minutes. And we want to make sure we thank everybody. We had a lot of engagement on all our different platforms today.
We did, yes. And we want to thank Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok,
YouTube, of course.
Shorts,
Yep.
Facebook Shorts, Reels.
We're everywhere. We made sure to get every nook and cranny of the internet.
And guys, we're here every week, twice a week, 8:30 Tuesday and Thursday, Mountain Standard Time, 8:30 a.m. And anytime you have questions that you weren't able to get answered during the podcast, just email them to us at ev@gruber.com. For those of you that want expanded content, I'm telling you, our YouTube channel has almost a couple hundred videos, and you'll probably find exactly what you're trying to research or that you're curious about on our YouTube channel, including the Petersen event. For those of you that were interested what was there, our social media team did a pretty good job documenting that entire event. Again, we want to thank you. I'm Pete Gruber.
And I'm Zane Courtney.
We'll see you Thursday this week. Please join us.